Did you know that two of the greatest apostles in the Bible once stood face to face in public confrontation? Peter, the rock chosen by Jesus. Paul, the apostle sent to the nations. In Antioch they clashed, not over pride, not over power, but over the very heart of the gospel. This forgotten moment in Galatians shows us how fear can divide, and how courage can save the truth for generations to come. The city of Antioch was alive with color, sound, and culture. Traders moved through the streets. Languages mixed. And in one home, something even more radical was happening. Believers gathered, Jews and Gentiles, eating together. For centuries, Jews had been forbidden to eat with Gentiles. Different foods, different customs, different laws. But here, in Christ, there was no barrier. One table, one body, one family. Peter was there. The same Peter who once denied Jesus. The same Peter who had seen a vision from heaven. Animals, clean and unclean, lowered on a sheet, and a voice saying, "Do not call anything impure that God has made clean." That vision led him to the home of Cornelius, a Roman centurion, where he declared boldly, "I now realize how true it is that God shows no favoritism." And now in Antioch, Peter lived that truth. He ate freely with Gentiles, laughing, breaking bread, sharing in the joy of salvation by grace. It was a living picture of the gospel. But then men arrived. They had come from James in Jerusalem. They were strict about the law, cautious about traditions, watchful of appearances. Peter saw them enter. His heart wavered. What would they say? What would they report back? Slowly, quietly, Peter pushed away from the Gentile table. He rose and walked toward the Jews. The Gentile brothers looked on, confused, hurt. The room shifted, and Peter wasn't alone. Other Jewish believers followed his example. They too stepped back. Even Barnabas, Paul's trusted companion, his fellow missionary, was carried away in this wave of fear. In one moment, the unity of the church cracked. A silent message spread. Gentiles are not fully equal. Christ is not enough, you must still measure up to the law. Paul saw it all. His spirit burned. He remembered his own calling, the day Jesus stopped him on the road to Damascus and sent him to the Gentiles. He knew what was at stake. This was not about food, not about customs. It was about the truth of the gospel. If Peter's actions were left unchecked, the church would fracture. Jews on one side, Gentiles on another. Salvation itself would be distorted. Paul rose to his feet. The room fell quiet. He looked Peter in the eye. The one called the Rock. The one who had walked on water. The one who preached at Pentecost. And Paul, without fear, spoke before them all. "Peter, you are a Jew, yet you live like a Gentile and not like a Jew. How then can you force Gentiles to follow Jewish customs?" The room froze. Gasps filled the air. No one had ever spoken to Peter like this. But Paul's words weren't meant to destroy him. They were meant to protect the truth. Paul continued, "We who are Jews by birth and not sinful Gentiles, we know that a person is not justified by the works of the law, but through faith in Jesus Christ. Even we have believed in Christ Jesus so that we may be justified by faith, not by the law. For by the works of the law, no one will be justified." Every word rang out like a hammer striking stone. The gospel was clear. Faith alone, grace alone, Christ alone. The silence lingered. Peter had no defense. And though Galatians does not record his reply, we know from later writings that Peter loved Paul as a brother and recognized the wisdom given him by God. 2 Peter 3 verse 15. This clash was not the end of their fellowship. It was a refining fire. Through Paul's boldness, the church was preserved from division. The gospel of grace stood unshaken. Imagine if Paul had stayed silent. The church could have split forever. Gentiles may have been treated as second-class believers. The good news of salvation by faith would have been distorted into another system of rules. But Paul's courage protected the truth, not only for Antioch, but for every believer after. This untold moment in Galatians teaches us that even great leaders can stumble. Peter, the pillar of the church, once gave in to fear. That means you and I are not immune. We must always guard our hearts. Truth must be defended. Sometimes love means confrontation. Paul risked reputation, friendship, even unity in the moment for the sake of eternal truth. The gospel is worth standing for. Salvation is not found in rituals, traditions, or appearances. It is found in Christ alone, by grace through faith. So the next time fear whispers, the next time pressure rises, remember Paul in Antioch. One voice, standing alone, preserved the truth for the world. And remember this: God may call you to stand for truth when others fall silent, because sometimes the courage of one can save the faith of many.